And welcome back to the Film Reel Cast. I'm Stuart, your host. This week we're continuing with Cobra Kai. It's episode 4, season 1. And it's Cobra Kai Never Dies. And before we get into episode 4, remember, subscribe. And thank you for those who have subscribed. Thanks for leaving your comments, your emails as well. It's thefilmreelcast@gmail.com. And subscribe, put notifications on. And that way you won't miss an episode. We also talk about The Shield, or I talk about The Shield. We're currently on episode 9 of season 1. Really, really fantastic police drama. Really, really good. It's set in 2002. It's quite old, but it's brilliant. So watch that. I'm doing reviews on that and discussing what's happening. Again, asking lots of questions. Just join in, leave your comments. I'll always answer back. And I love talking about these series. Again, subscribe, and we've got the podcast as well on iTunes and on Android. That's the Film Reel Cast podcast, so you can subscribe to that as well. There's over 100 previous films and episodes which we're talking about. It's really, really good fun. It's really light-hearted. It's not detail intense. It's just a talking about what we like, what we don't like, what could have improved, who would have played the role better. It's just really, really good fun. So subscribe and you can join in. I love chatting about films. So on with episode 4, Cobra Kai Never Dies, of the Cobra Kai series. Okay, so remember, I've not seen episode 5. So some of the things, again, that I could talk about, the hint that might happen, may never happen, and pure fantasy. But I'm enjoying this so much. And this starts off, remember last time, Miguel got a real hiding from Kyler. He tried to stick up for himself, it did not work, but he gave it a go. And he got a hiding. He was dropped off by Johnny back at his home address. Johnny is pissed out of his head, walking down the street. He's feeling sorry for himself. Nothing seems to be working out. He hasn't got any other members to his dojo. Financially, he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to advertise properly. He's not a people person. He's feeling a bit sorry for himself. So he sees a guy graffitiing and he thinks, let's swap your can for my can. And he creates some of the best graffiti that I think I've ever seen in any series. Basically, he draws a massive knob on the billboard with the dick going into Daniel's mouth. It's absolutely amazing. It's the best dick I think I've seen. Barring a couple of spunk drips, it would have been absolutely perfect. But it's a Banksy. It really, really is. And it's so, so funny. So we see Robbie, remember Robbie's Johnny's son, working, pretending to work, as we discover, in a computer shop. I don't know how, he's not busted or not discovered by any other members of staff. It must be the only computer shop where he's the only member of staff. And no one asks him what he's doing, wearing the t-shirt, with the lanyard around his neck, pretending to work in the shop. And he's given a computer by this guy, unsuspecting member of public, who kindly gives him his password. Robbie goes out the back where his idiot friends are waiting out there, who thankfully we don't really have a major character arc for. He gives them a computer, they sell it for money, then he sees a flyer on the floor. Robbie sees the flyer and he picks it up and he looks at it, and his friends take the piss out of him, say, do you want to join karate? Do you want to do it? It's a waste of time. Is this what you're interested in? And he says no. And he drops the F-bomb. He says the word Now, seriously, you didn't think I was going to say the F word then, did you? But yeah, that's a reaction that Robbie gets from finding one of his dad's flies around. So Daniel's day doesn't start very well. Remember, his daughter Samantha is pissed with him because Kyler wanted to get in his daughter's knickers but got busted. But Kyler was smart enough to pretend he was going to give his daughter a bracelet rather than to give his daughter something else. And he's in the doghouse. So he's on his way to work. He sees a massive poster. He gets the heads up from Amanda that something's happened. But he sees Tom Cole's poster, who's another very cheesy, very corny car salesman. His billboard. And then, before he's told, Daniel sees a picture of himself with the big knob in his mouth. And it's brilliant because when Amanda tries her best, bless her, to try and play this down, she says, well, you're going to blow your competition away. And Daniel says, well, I've got a massive dick in my mouth. These were two sentences that I didn't think I'd hear on Cobra Kai. So what doesn't help matters is that Daniel has some marketers into the garage to promote his own business. They show him a video that Tom Cole's done And Tom Cole, his video is really patriotic. It's all American. He's dressed up as a patriot. He gives away a cactus, a very American kind of plant. And none of this foreign imports, none of your foreign rubbish. Clearly having a dig at Daniel. And Daniel hates this. He sees red and he takes the bait, which really is what Tom wants. So Daniel takes that bait. He red rag to a ball. He goes to see Tom Cole. Tom takes the piss out of him in front of everyone. But it's much the same as when Daniel took the piss out of Johnny when Johnny's car was crashed and he went to Daniel's garage. It's much the same, really. So Johnny goes to see Tom Cole. And Tom says to him that, I love that gimmick you've got. The karate gimmick's great. And Daniel's really sensitive about this because he says that I was a state champion 2 years in a row. But this is 34 years ago, remember? And I suppose in a way that it makes Daniel's life quite sad looking, that his achievement is obviously winning that championship twice, but still he's holding on to it, and that he's still trying to build his business around it, and that really is his achievement that he's holding on to, that he hasn't moved on, and that he uses it to slash prices. He karate chops and kicks prices in his video gimmicks. So really, I don't think there's much difference between what Daniel's doing and what Tom Cole's doing. And these two are bickering like a cock measuring competition in a playground where one's better than the other. My garage is better than yours. And it gets to the stage where Daniel is that pissed off with the piss take from Tom that as he's walking away, he turns and he kicks the drink out of his hand. And it's a really sad moment in a way because he feels he has to prove himself and his karate. But it's good that he shuts Tom Cole up because Tom Cole is a loudmouth. And again, I think he'd bully and he mocks Daniel. But I don't think anyone comes away a winner. Possibly Daniel does it in a mild way. But the fact that he feels he has to prove something and use his karate to win the argument, I think is quite sad for two adults where he can't just walk away. But I like the humour that's brought to this episode, especially by the cousins of Daniel. They're up at the billboard trying to paint it, trying to get rid of the message. And they still believe that Tom Cole was responsible for this. And they're up there and they're showing Daniel on the kind of like Skype call, video call of what's actually happened. And they keep showing the cock in Daniel's mouth. And they keep mentioning it. And it's so funny. Then they make the comment that he's trotting dog shit. And how the hell can a dog get up to the top of the billboard about 100 foot in the air? Then they realise it won't be dog shit. It'll be human shit. And it's done in a really funny, stupid, kind of slapstick way. So still unbeknown to everyone, they don't know that Johnny was responsible for graffitiing and putting the dick on the billboard. But in a drunken stupor, in a coma, that Johnny gets a phone call from Miss Jenkins from the school where Robbie should be. And she's told, and she's led to believe that they're on a kayaking expedition together. But obviously they're not. Johnny's less than pleased with this, and he goes and tracks down Robbie. And they have an argument, and Robbie really disrespects Johnny and says that you're here now giving me advice. Where were you previous? And I think we don't know the character arc. We don't know what happened yet as to what made Johnny leave. I mean, could it be that he's always bitter about losing in the All Valley finals? And that's had an effect. Remember, that's had a positive effect on Daniel, that he won the All Valley twice in a row, and that he believes that's made him successful. Whether it has or not, we don't know yet. But I think Johnny's right to want his son to go to school, what's best for him. But remember, he's left it so long. And Robbie turns around and says, you're no one in my life to give me any advice. And even when Johnny speaks badly about the mum, that he squares up to him. And until we find out what's happened and why he left, I suppose at the moment, Robbie's got a point. Who is Johnny to give him advice? I know he means well, but he's walked away on his son and hasn't been in his son's life for so long. And he's not in a position to give him parental advice and put an arm around the shoulder and say that I'm here for you. So Johnny tracks down Laura Lawrence, who's his ex-partner and mum of Robbie. And she's in a bar with this guy. And she comes across, I don't know enough about her yet, remember only episode 4, but she comes across as someone, if she got a hotel, she'd only get it for an hour rather than a night. And she comes across as a lady who, again, has walked out and not been there enough for Robbie, and that both of their relationships, or the lack of relationships with Robbie, has caused him to be the way he is. And they just don't get on. Even she says to Johnny, it's far too late now to be part of his life, and you can't undo what's already been done. And Johnny realises this and is really hurt by this, which plays in to one of the later scenes really, really well, where you think he's talking to one person in particular, but he isn't. So you've still got the continuing bullying from Kyler. And Dimitri, Eli and Miguel are in the library. And again, Kyler targets him. He's such a bully, such a wimp. And he does it with his friend. And they get Dimitri's rucksack in the end. And they dump it in the bin. And it gets covered in milkshake. And they just don't give a shit. And they're horrible, horrible people. And Miguel's there. And you can see he's angry. But he's already given it a go. And it hasn't worked. So he doesn't really know what to do. But he walks away at the moment. I'm hoping it won't always be the case. But as they walk away, they don't realise. And thank God Samantha is there. And she overhears the bullying. And finally she's exposed to the idiot. And how naive she's been of dating Kyler. But still, she decides to go to the cinema with him. Why does she do that? She always wants what's right. She's just witnessed her friend Aisha being bullied in front of the whole school. And the ramifications from that and the way she feels. And it's pointed out that even when she tries to comfort her and say people will forget. And she says they may forget, but I won't forget. So she's witnessed that bullying and the victim end of it. But she still decides to go to the cinema with Kyler. And in the cinema, Kyler is a snake. He's trying to do the old yawning, put his arm around her. And he's trying all the old school moves. These are the kind of moves that Johnny would be using back in the 80s. And he's trying them. And she's turning him down flat. And she says, I know what you did. And even he tries to make it better. And this sums up the kind of person he is. And he says, what I said against Rhea? So he's still calling him Rhea after the first episode when he told him he had diarrhea. So that's the kind of person he is. And then, in front of a packed cinema, he goes to put his hand right up the front of Samantha's skirt. I mean, who does that? I mean, when we did the review on our podcast with Back to the Future, when you get Biff who's sexually assaulting Leah Thompson in the canteen, this took me back all the way there. When he tries to put his hand right at the front of her skirt. I mean, what did he think would happen? She gets up, and this is it. He tries to put a hand on her to stop her from walking away and leave it in that cinema. And she does something. She does some karate move and puts him on his ass. And I thought, yes, you go. I knew. They hit a hint that she knew karate, but she did it. So if she can do it to him, why can't you do it to Moon? Why can't you do it to Yasmin? Because they're the ones who deserve it. But go on, Samantha, you can do it. And there's a really touching moment where Johnny's in a diner. And to the left of him, there's a father and son eating an ice cream together. And the bond the father and son have got is everything that Johnny hasn't got in his life at the moment. And it's a really touching moment. And Johnny looks at them and you can see he's choked up. You can see the jealousy. And he really wants this and misses this bond with someone in his life. And the only person in his life he's had this with lately is with Miguel. So then you see Johnny at someone's front door and you get it from the point of view of the person whose house it is. And Johnny's there looking very solemn, very sad. And he says to the person, look, this person has always been there for me. And I should have been there for him. I should have done more. I should have played a bigger part in their life. I'm not going to walk away again. And the way he's talking, it sounds like he's trying to make up with Robbie. But in fact, he's talking to Miguel's sister. And he's saying the right things. The sister doesn't want anything to do with Johnny because Miguel has been beaten up. She wants to protect him. When she shuts the door, it's Miguel's mum who's been the driving force who says, I like him. I want him back. I want Miguel to be with him. Miguel can learn from him. And it's brilliant the way it's played out, because it really sucked me in, and it really tricked me to believe that he was trying to talk to Robbie and trying to get Robbie back in his life, build the bridges, but it wasn't. It shows the connection that Johnny has with Miguel, and that he believes he can rescue that relationship, and that he wants him to protect him after he got beaten up. And he's taking blame for that he could have done more. It's a really good scene, and it got me. So the next day, Sam has made up with Daniel. Daniel's over the moon. Daniel's been proved right. Daniel knew he was a scumbag, and he's got his daughter back. Nothing could be better. And back in the gym, you've got Johnny there packing everything away. Remember, he's got no clients. Things are pretty crap. He's even lost Miguel, who he treats of and thinks of as a son. And then Miguel walks in, and this, if it finished here, I would have carried on watching. Miguel walks in and he says, I'm back. I can train with you. I want to learn from you. I've got support from my family. It doesn't get better than that. And then Johnny says, I let you down. He admits that he was wrong. That hasn't happened yet. He admits, I let you down. Then he says, the best kind of defense is more offense. And then he strikes that pose. And then the hairs stand up my arms. And then I stand up and I'm punching the air. It is brilliant. And if that's not enough tension to add to this story, Daniel's in the garage when he's approached by his cousins, and he thinks everything's fine. It's all returned. Tom Cole's been put in his place. There are no further problems. That his cousins then say, we found this. And they show him the flyer up at the top of the billboard. He knows that Johnny did it. They can't let it go, these two. Every time they try and put it to rest, something else happens. And I couldn't wait to watch the next one. I cannot wait to watch the next one. I don't know what happens yet. And that was episode 4, Cobra Kai Never Dies. You wouldn't be wrong by thinking, I like that episode. I did. I loved it. I had the humour, I had the tension. It was really good. And it shows, what I like about this is both characters are human. And by that, I mean, they've got natural human problems. Neither of them want to kill each other or want to kill someone or an abusive relationship or want to take over the world. They're normal problems. You learn that Daniel's life, even though he's been successful, it isn't that good. His relationship is difficult. His business is difficult. He's trying to manage everything. He's still feeding off being the All Valley champion. And people don't understand the achievement. Obviously, back in '84, it's a huge achievement for him. But people don't respect him because he's feeding off that achievement still, and his adverts are corny. Whereas Johnny, once again, has been reminded that he's a failed father of Robbie and his broken relationship with Laura. But he's got something to build on. The positive he's got that's come out of this is that Miguel is being supported by his family and that he can learn karate. And that he can put things right through Miguel. But will he change Miguel? At the moment, Miguel's good at heart. He's being bullied by Kyler. Johnny knows that. Is he going to turn Miguel into a nice, sincere lad like Daniel was in the first Karate Kid and make him someone more like Kreese made Johnny? Is that what's going to happen? And we'll end up resenting what Miguel is. But at the moment, none of the characters are horrible. You can't hate either character. They've both got their problems. But they both won't let this grudge go from 1984. And the finding of that poster by the billboard can only fuel the ongoing arguments between Daniel and Johnny. But I hope you enjoyed that review. Remember, subscribe and you won't miss another episode. I've got The Shield coming. You'll see a window come up for The Shield. Click on that and I've got 7, 8, it will soon be 9 episodes of reviews for The Shield. I really enjoy it. And next one, I'll be in a couple of days where I'll do episode 5 of Cobra Kai. I'm Stuart and I'll see you next time.